Okay, we're going into Frenzy. Frenzy 9. Come on, hit faster. Hit faster, guys. 5 seconds. Let's go. Yes. Oh. Okie dokie. Hey, you guys. Valky here. And I hope everyone had a good end of season for RTA and you hit your goals. If not, there's always next season. And for those of you that did, I'm proud of you guys. And you know what? I'm proud of you guys even if you guys didn't, as long as you tried and give it a real shot. Now, I know personally after the season ends, I'll be playing a lot of the new Arena Brawl mode from Midnight Gala Lilias' new side story. On the topic of Arena Brawl, it seems like a lot of people are having a hard time since this is their first auto battler. Just looking up Reddit as well as Stove, people are definitely saying this is too hard. And as a veteran of teamfight tactics, I'm here to help you guys get those week 1 rewards and hopefully enjoy the game, because I sure have been enjoying it a lot. I've taken the liberty to write up a fully comprehensive guide with chapters down below, so, you know, depending on how familiar you are with auto battlers, pick your chapters and then just go through the whole guide and just get your rewards. Now that that's out the way, let's dive right into it. So just like any other auto battler, if the mechanics and the classes like Azera, Rengar, Warrior, Mages are too confusing for you, the easiest analogy I have is to think of the game like an extension of poker or like a mahjong hand. So expanding your team size would be like increasing your hand size in poker. So, you know, that sure sounds OP, which means you should do that every time you are beating the level you are by a lot. If the traits confuse you, think about them like poker suits. You know, each card has 2 suits, and you want to get as many of them to match as possible for those big flushes. Hitting additional copies of a unit gives an imprint here, which upgrades your unit significantly. Think about that like hitting pairs, triplets, or even more in poker. With all of that in mind, the goal is to make the strongest poker hand by round 25, and hopefully beat our last hand in the championships. I see a lot of misinformation online saying you have to follow certain strategies or try to hit triple S on 2 to 3 units, and that's definitely not the case. You can see that here, my current championship lineup has 0 imprints, and I'm here to tell you how to become an auto battler pro in hopefully just a few minutes. Now that we have the premise, let's get into how to actually play the games, the basics. So you start by buying 2 bronze units. This will give you any 3 stars and above hero. But the higher rarity hero will be more rare, obviously. Silvers will give you 4 stars and above, and golds will only give you 5 stars, but will cost significantly more. This part is important. Since the game mode costs nothing to play, if you really wanted to, you can literally reroll until you hit the most OP heroes in the game, and honestly, all that takes is time. But I don't really recommend doing that until you know what you're doing, and I'll explain why later. As a starter, let's just buy 2 units and hit start. It's pretty simple. Big part of auto battlers is understanding what your units do, so clicking on their skills and their icons will tell you their range and their approximate role. So whether that's tank, DPS, or support, while your units are fighting, try to read and understand what the traits do, and remembering them helps a lot. Although, because there's no time limit in this game, I don't think you have to remember anything. And now we're officially entering early game. Early game is always about fielding just enough units to stay alive and increasing your level or your team size. It's pretty much the goal. The goal is to hit level 7 or level 8 at around round 10. And the latest hit level 8 at around round 15, maybe round 18 by the absolute latest. Just be careful of round 8, the mages here are really tanky, so make sure your team has enough healing to survive and outlast the shields. Now, once you hit a team size of 8, that's where the mid game begins. When you hit level 8, save up for silver summons or 1 big gold summon to fish out 1 OP unit. This can be any of the 5 stars or a few 4 stars with synergistic traits. In the example on screen, we managed to hit a Shuri early, which is great as Rengar is a trait that's really good for getting us extra gold and a few copies of Rose. These aren't really the strongest units, definitely not together, but it's enough to reach round 25 for some of those rewards, and that's how we're going to build this team. When building a team, consider the standard. That's going to be the standard for RTA, Arena, and even Guild War. And it's called a standard because it's going to resemble a standard RPG party. We got our tanks and bruisers in the front line, support in the middle, and DPS units in the back line. And that's what we want to establish with as many matching synergies as possible. Ideally, getting everything rounded out at round 20. After round 20 hits, this is where we reach late game. Hopefully, you hit a basic composition that you're okay with, replace a lot of our earlier units that don't have synergies, unless they're OP, and trust me, there are a few of them. The other thing you want to do here is that once your units are finalized, start stacking imprints. The big question here is, which tier do you buy for imprints? And this is how I look at it. If your composition has a lot of 3 stars, then you just spam bronze. If your team is like the example team I have on screens, there are a lot of 4 and 5 stars, so buying silver is our best bet here. And that's what we're going to do. With a bit of luck, your composition should be strong enough to get past round 23, which is your biggest hurdle, and round 25, having a good front line to tank Lilias because she sure drops her ultimate a lot, will register you as a champions. And this is where you'll have to fight the same team in the future to clear as the final boss. Very clever, Smilegate, making us, ourselves, our own biggest enemies. Okay. And now you have an idea of how this game mode works. Here's a couple of things to watch out for. Round 5 is the Rengar team. Make sure you have a full team of units going into it, even with low rarity, just because they're really pesky and they might overrun you. Round 8 has 4 mages, very, very tanky with big shields, so make sure to bring really good knights or sustain. Round 13's got a lot of rangers, and Silk in particular is really OP here, so either have one really good tank or one really good TPS. And as I mentioned earlier, the last round for this week 1 rotation to watch out for is round 23. 6 knights all starting with Reflect. This is the toughest to survive, but can be beaten by really good healers, especially if you have Destina with Spear of Lore 3. That basically sets you for the rest of the game. And it gives her that revive, which brings back fallen DPS units, and that's huge. Now that we talked about what to look for, these are the units you want to play if you just want to have fun, because they're pretty busted. Policia and Politis gives everybody there 2 free imprints. Pair that with 4 mages, and you're likely to be playing that for your first OP team. That was my first OP team, and like people in Twitch chat, that was the first OP team for a lot of people to be playing. On the topic of 4 mages or 6 knights are the best frontline in the game. They're the best tanks. Play those with literally any good DPS in the back that you found, and you should have a winning run. For 4-star units, I think Silk and Clarissa are the 2 best DPS units. If you hit them early, you can easily go 25 playing a composition around those 2, or either one. Destina, for me, has been probably the best unit in the game, and anytime I found a really good team, Destina's been there. So I would say, I think I play Destina any chance I get. I think Sustain is really good in this game, Cleanse is really good in this game, and so is Spear Lord. As an extension, Spear Lord is really, really good. It gives you a few skill nullifiers to start the fight, so your units can face tank stuff like, for example, Midnight Gala Lilias ultimate in round 25 for free, especially if you set this up correctly. Now, if you guys have any more compositions, especially the fun ones, feel free to drop them in the chat. It's been said that after week 1, we'll be getting more units in the Brawl, so I can't really wait to try out some of those new traits, like City Lord, for example. Finally, if you're really struggling and auto battlers just aren't for you, I have a few OP secrets just to break the game for you. But before you do any of that, know that you will have to beat your own championship team for all the rewards. So maybe don't make the strongest team in the world in the first go, but instead make a solid team and then gradually get crazy once you get a few championship wins under your belt. As referenced earlier, since it costs no stamina to play the game mode, you can literally just reroll until you find a starting hand you want to play. You can start with a 5-star hero. It takes a few tries, but you can literally start with Politis, Zahawk, or even Destina from round 1. That's pretty OP. My personal favorite is to reroll until you have 2 Rengar heroes. Reroll until you hit any 2 units with this key emblem. It gives you 40 additional gold per turn when you win combat and they're both alive, which isn't hard in the beginning. And even better when you hit more Rengar units. Rengar 4 and Rengar 6 really snowball how crazy your team comp can get. If you get 4 Rengar early, you're more likely to hit something like team limit level 8 by round 8. Rengar 6 gives you more than 400 gold per turn, so if your units survive, you can completely break the game and even triple less some 5-star units. Just make sure to pivot out by swapping out the lower cost Rengar units for better units when you hit the late game. And that's really the guide. I'm actually very thankful for Epic 7 for deciding to do something that's interesting and fresh for a side story like this for once. And I hope this guide reaches as many people who need it as possible so they can also have fun and get their rewards. Let me know in the comments section if the guide was clear enough, since this is the first time I made something that wasn't really an RTA guide. If you guys are interested, I can do a full walkthrough video here of a playthrough I had, or you can watch full walkthroughs of runs on my Twitch channel, since that's where I've been spamming a lot of games with Twitch chat and just honestly seeing who can get the craziest team comp. And let me tell you guys, some of these guys go a little crazy. So if you found the information helpful, you can help me back up by giving me the video a subscribe and a like. Comment will help too. And I'll see you guys in the next video for E7WC. Cheer for my boy Poopist, and this is not a request. Have a great one, guys. Stay safe out there, and see ya.